Welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever, the show that gives you the lowdown on how to become a successful real estate entrepreneur. With more than 30 years of experience, America's top female real estate investor Dwan is an expert in financial freedom and turning dreams into realities. Now's your chance to become a Dwandernaire with the help of Dwan. Here's to a flaming hot foreclosure market with the help of Dwan. Cheers.
Hey, welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm your host, Dwan Twyford, America's most sought after real estate investor. It's 2022. I'm so excited for this new year. There's just so many great things that are happening. I have such a great topic today. I'm going to give you a little insider secret today. And actually being here at my dad's reminded me. So just so you know, I had mentioned last week I'm at my dad's. And I'm going to be up here for a little while, helping him get kind of resettled. My little mama passed away in December. And so there's a lot of new things happening right now. So I'm going to be podcasting. This is my childhood home. Of course, there was not quite so much red. I got to tell you, I'm not joking. All this red, no matter what kind of shirt I put on, it makes it hard to blend in with all the pink hair. But that's okay. It is what it is. I'm just excited to be up here. I'm happy to be able to help my dad. And, it's a new chapter for everybody, for sure. So our motto for this year is the new you in 22. That is the motto. And some of you may be new to Dwanderful, and you're like, well, I don't even know who you are, Dwan. Well, I was a broke single mom. I was actually fired from Denny's. Can you imagine my dad? If you all knew my dad, he's like that really tough country, like, and I called my dad. It's like, I got fired from Denny's. He was like, the hell gets fired from Denny's? And I was like, right? That's what I was thinking myself. Who gets fired from Denny's on third shift? Oh, goodness. I was meant to be a real estate investor. Though, I was walking around the house today. So I've been walking around the house a lot in the last week or so, just kind of helping to reorganize. I mean, this room is all great and super organized. They have all the little cabinets and all the little things, but Lord have mercy, the rest of this house is a hot mess. And my dad actually started building this house when I was a little kid, like around 10. We lived down in Dayton, and he went to live out into the country and raise the kids out into the country. So we started working on this house. And I was thinking about it today. I remember working in the garage with my dad, and he was trying to hang drywall. And I was 10, and my little sister was only 7. We would come up on the weekends with my dad. And he had like a big old 2x4. And he cut a piece of, not a big giant piece of plywood, but a small piece of plywood off on the end of it and nailed it on the end. And when he was hanging some of the drywall on the ceilings, my sister and I would like lift it up on one end with his 2x4 and the piece on the end that he had nailed onto it. And we would hold it up, and my dad would go around and nail all this stuff in. So I actually had a hand in building this house. I always kind of thought it was fun. And then, I ended up starting off as a rehabber, turned into a wholesaler, been training forever, coined the term short sales, coined it and registered trademark on the term short sales. And now my husband and I are rehabbing a town. We bought a whole town. So, of course, there'll be a lot more on that in the year coming. But I remember I was walking around looking at some of the places in the house. But I remember specifically working out in the garage and helping my dad and hanging up, putting up the drywall and helping put the ceilings up. And I just remember today, I was like, I used to come up here. And I always thought it was fun because I'm in the country and there was a lot of kids around here. But when I moved here from downtown Dayton to out here, I was horrified because it was like, this is the country. There's a bunch of hicks out here. I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. So I did not like it immediately. But I made a couple really great friends. And then, as country kids do, you get busy doing probably things you shouldn't be doing. And next thing you know, I was out of high school and I had fun. So it's crazy. All right, so we're going to continue on this year doing Drinks with Dwan. And today I am having, my battery is running low on my computer. Okay, hang on. I thought it was plugged in. Double check. It's probably one of my dad's old outlets that doesn't work anymore. So while we're talking, I'm going to try and plug this in over here. Oh, this outlet probably doesn't even work. And I've been recording on this all day. Let's see. Did that do it? No, it says your battery's running low. All right, well, we're going to see how low it runs. I'm going to try and still do this thing. So this is the big thing about investing. You just got to go with the flow. If something happens, you can't be like, oh my gosh, and get rattled over anything. Because, listen, there's always be something when it comes to real estate investing. So I bought some really neat, I bought myself a really neat water bottle. It's got my name and pictures of my kids and stuff on it. But I came here kind of unexpected, so I don't have it with me. So I have a brand new, I'm always drinking out of a bottle of water. So cheers to you in 22. Drink a lot of water. Water is your friend. So if this cuts off before I finish my thing, we're going to talk about code violations. And hopefully I can get my whole 15 minutes in. I could just stop this, but you know what? I like when stuff like this happens because it just shows everyone, like, you got to be flexible. You got to be able to roll with things, and you have to be able to do that. Because if you can't do that, I'm telling you, you are not going to like being a real estate investor. There always be something happening as a real estate investor. But as I said, I was out in the garage this week, and I'm looking at the electrical box that my dad put in. Now, this was 50 years ago. I am telling you, if you talk about code violations, oh my word. I can't even begin to tell you how many code violations. Right now, I'm plugged into an outlet over here that's clearly doesn't even work. So the code violations in this house is shocking. So should he decide to sell the house, the new person's going to have to do all new electrical, all new plumbing, all new everything. But there's a department. It's kind of different in every city. It's usually, you should be able to Google the building department. And within the building department, they have people that go out and drive neighborhoods looking for code violations. Code violations. So this is a really great way to find houses. I have bought many houses that had code violations on them. So code violation could be someone has a porch and like the porch is swooping, or they've got cars up on the blocks, or they haven't mowed the grass and the grass is 10 feet tall. It could really be anything. But one of my houses I bought had $65,000 in code violations. $65,000. So all the investors in town like, oh, you can't buy it, you can't buy it, you can't buy it. So all these code violations on it. So I thought, well, let me go talk to the people at the code violation. This is how I actually discovered code violations. So let me go talk to the people at the code violation office. I said, hey, listen, if I buy this house and I fix all these things within 30 days of buying the house, would you waive all these fees? Because with the fees on there, the house was not possible to be able to purchase this property. And none of the other investors did, and it was my first time too. So I think, some of us were all learning kind of at the same time. But they wrote out a thing, was able to buy the house for a super good deal. And it said that if I didn't have all these violations, it gave me 60 days. If I didn't have all these violations fixed in 60 days, they were going to attach them back onto the property. And this particular one had a porch, like with the two posts, and one had rotted, so the porch was like hanging, and you had to go under to get into the front door. So it was like super dangerous. It could have just fallen and crashed someone on their head. And so I fixed the porch, and the porch had the poles that were holding the porch up, the little pillars. One of them had fallen because the concreted porch had crumbled on one side. So you're going up the steps, and there's this concrete porch. This piece had crumbled a little bit, which caused this pillar to crumble. So the porch was like this, and the roof over the porch was also like this. So the family was just going up around this one side and going in out the front door. I'm like, why would you not at least fix it or go in the back door? I mean, it's going to crash down on your head. So that was the big one. But code violations, they start off with whatever it is. It's $200 if you don't fix it by this day. And then sometimes they add up, and now it becomes $200 a day. And then next thing you know, you have $65,000, and the grass hadn't been mowed, and there was junk in the yard. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So when you find a house like that, the neighbors are so excited that you're coming into this house because nobody wants to live next to that house. Now, my dad's house on the outside, it is beautiful. It's all brick. There's flowers, trees. It's just beautiful. But you walk in that garage, I'm telling you, it's a mess. And every time something needs fixed, I mean, he fixes it. God bless him. He fixes everything and keeps up with it. But whoever buys this house is never going to be able to get, they're going to have to get all that stuff fixed immediately to even, I think, to even get a loan on this property. But the plumbing and it's the same electrical. It's 50 something years old. So 55 years old or something like that. So I started thinking about code violations today and how many houses I have bought that way. So typically there are people that drive. My battery died. Now a lot of people would go, oh, do the whole podcast over. I mean, it's only 15, 20 minutes. It's not like I can't do it over. But you know what? I just feel like as a real estate investor, it's super important that when things like this happen, that even this, now my podcast guys will not be happy that I have to make them edit and whatever. But if you notice, we don't edit. I don't throw in a bunch of stupid commercials. I don't take out the ums and the ahs, and because that's not real. I mean, it's not real. I know a lot of people just spend tons and tons of money doing stuff like that. But I feel like one of the reasons that you all like me so much is because I really am real and I'm really natural and like this is it. And some days there's no makeup, some days there's makeup, sometimes we're wherever we are. We just keep rolling with it. There's no such thing as perfection. And if anybody thinks that being a real estate investor, you're going to have a lot of perfection, you are sadly mistaken. Stuff happens all the time. And it is how you handle things that kind of makes you who you are. So I did find a different outlet on the theme of code violations. I had to use a different outlet over here. There's no covers on the outlet. It's like, oh my God, Dad, you are so lucky. This house hasn't burned down. It's a mess. It's a mess. All right. Now, I did not read off my 5-star review. I started my thing and I knew my computer was going to die on me. Let's see. Can't make this light a little better too. There we go. You see my pretty eyes. And I have this big window. There's a giant bay window here without a curtain on it. It's really beautiful, but the sun, based on where it's at, really changes the light in this room. All right, so a couple 5-star reviews. Wonderful. They could have said wonderful. Dwan provides great information, has a lot of experience. Good to listen weekly to stay up to date. Thank you, Dorothy Epperson from the United States. My favorite podcast. Each episode of this podcast is an incredible amount of preparation prior to the actual interview. Makes for wonderful listening to great questions followed by great answers. By far, this has become my favorite podcast. Thank you, Eloise. And one more, thoughtful. This podcast is an amazing free resource to tip off deeper research and get a deeper understanding. Learn more from Dwan than any other single source on investing. Thanks, Dwan. Thanks, Marina. Says Marina Senior 568. Thanks, girl. All right, so I like that one says, the one from Eloise, great preparation. It's like, but you know what? I've had my computer plugged in and been working on it for ages. I never looked down for the battery because I assume that the outlets work. But that's okay. That be's all right. So now if you're going to buy a house, if you're going to buy something you're going to rehab or to keep it for a rental or something like that. Oh, hang on. There we go. I didn't realize my camera had moved over. Oh, there we go. There you guys are. And you're going to do something like that. You definitely want to have somebody look at things because like this house is a good example. Just to do the electrical, this is a big house. It's got 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, a living room, a formal living room, a family room, a dining room, a casual dining room. Out by the garage is like a big laundry room, an in-law. They built an in-law quarters in case one of my grandmothers need to live here. And underneath is a full basement. So as big as the house is a full complete basement. So when we were kids, we loved it because there's a fireplace upstairs and a fireplace downstairs. So we were allowed to go down with our friends and have our own little couches and chairs and a pool table and stuff downstairs. And we thought, this is so great. We get a place away from our parents in the basement. So we just thought that was like the coolest thing. So, so the foundation to the house is solid, but the plumbing is very, very old. It's the original septic. And this is in the country, so it's septic and not city. But the electrical, Lord have mercy. I look at that thing, I'm just like, I can't believe this house has never exploded. And when something goes wrong, my dad just pops a breaker, puts a new one in, and rewires it, and makes it keep working. So if you're going to buy a house, if you're going to buy something as a rental or a landlord or something like that, definitely have somebody check the electrical and the plumbing and things like that, because you could get into a huge thing with electrical and plumbing and things like that, like really a huge, huge, huge thing. But the code violations on the outside, that is the thing. So all of the cities have someone whose job it is to drive around and look for violations. Now, if you have a house like in an HOA or something like that, the HOA will send you a letter. Hey, you need to pressure wash your roof, pressure wash your driveway, do this, do that. So the HOA will basically pounce you on their own. But out in neighborhoods that don't have HOAs, nobody wants to live next to the house that's got all the crap up on the blocks, and it looks like a pick and pull. Nobody wants to be next to that neighbor, and most people don't realize, because I just talked to somebody, gosh darn, just a day or two ago, somebody up here that I know. I talked to so many people with my little mama passing, I can't think who, but I talked to 100 people in the last couple of days. But somebody's like, I was going to buy this house, I had a bunch of code violations on it. I'm like, well, did you call and get that? Well, they won't take those violations off. It's like, yeah, they will. So I helped somebody that came to the viewing. I helped them with that and said, here's what you do, here's what you say. So all of you, if you go into the office, and maybe I will do it online. I'm not 100% sure about that. If you go into the office, it's usually, like I said, the building department, and you go in there, and I always ask if they could print me out a list of all the properties with code violations. Typically, they'll just print you out the whole list. Sometimes they'll say, it costs 20 cents a page, or something like that, thinking that will deter me. It's like, okay. So they will print out a list of all the houses with code violations. So I have many, many days just gone out and mapping everything out and just driving by every house in the area that has code violations. And there may be, more than one place. Usually it's like per city. So like this is West Milton. There's probably a different one in Tip City, a different one in Troy. So you can drive all the cities around and get a list of all the code violations and go drive into the houses and see what's happening. If they're not vacant, and you don't know if they're vacant, we don't know if they're in foreclosure, we don't know anything else. We just know that there's some code violations that can't be fixed. And it'll tell you how much it is and how long the violation's been on the property. Many of them will already be vacant, just vacant. Many of them will be people that are in foreclosure. They can't fix the violations, and they can't make their mortgage payment, so the house is sitting there with all this stuff happening to it. So I have bought, gosh, I don't know, I can think of like 10 houses for sure that were not foreclosures, and they all had code violations, and they were all a lot. They were, $25,000, $30,000, $35,000, $40,000. Now, a few times they've been like, no, we're not going to sell the house, period. We're just going to, the people are losing it, and we're going to tear it down. It's like, okay, but like, I'll fix it. So sometimes they say no, and that's all right. But there's a lot of properties sitting out there that 90% of the people don't know that these exist. And you should be able to go in, like I said, have them print out a list and drive by and look at all of them. If they're vacant, put your bandit sign in the yard so other neighbors will see that, you're looking to buy houses. And if they're occupied, just go talk to the people, knock on the door and say, hey, I see you have a bunch of code violations against your house. Are you interested in selling? Can we work something together? I could fix these and give you some money to move, and we could help you get a fresh start. So don't be shy about that. I know with 2020 and 2021, people are like, oh, I can't go knock on doors and talk to people. I'm telling you, people miss people. I miss people. Stop trying to do everything on the internet. Do you think that the 75-year-old guy sitting there in his house with a bunch of code violations is on the internet looking for someone to reach out to him from code violations? I think not. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. My drinks sometimes give me hiccups. They are not. And I know everybody wants to like fine tune and do it off the internet and da 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 da. But a lot of these people that are in trouble are not on the internet. And how are you going to find them from code violations? They're not foreclosures, they're not public record, they're not anything than the code violation section. So get out, be a little more explorative this year, and let's see if we can't dig into every little nook and cranny out there and find some new ways for y'all to find some deals. So that is your challenge this week, is to go out, to call. You can call, Google, whatever, find out. Maybe, like I said, maybe they'll print them and email them to you. Typically, I've not been able to have any success with that. I got to go in person and I got to sweet talk somebody. Say, hey, I just want to try and find some of these houses. I want to go around and fix these violations for people. And again, if you're going to buy a house with a bunch of code violations, always go talk to the city and say, if I fix these, will you waive this fee? And 9 out of 10 times, I've only had 1 or 2 that said no. All the rest were like, yeah, if you'll fix it within this amount of time. Now, again, don't fix it till you buy the house. Buy the house first. Fix the violation. Go show them proof that it was fixed, and they'll take it off of the house. So there is money just sitting there, and people that need your help, and people that can't fix things, and they don't even know that you exist right now. So get out there. That is your assignment, your homework assignment this week, is go to the code violation, to the building department, and get a list of some violations and start looking at them and see what you can do. I think you'd be super surprised. And anyone that gets a deal under contract in the next 2 weeks, I want you to email me or write it up on Facebook and let me know, like, hey, Dwan, I took your advice. I found some code violations. There was 50 of them in this area. I drove by. I got 5 deals under contract. Woohoo! Who would have thought? So that's why I am here, to teach you every possible thing that can be taught to you when it comes to real estate investing. All right, our life equity this week is going to be financial. Now, I hear this more often than I ever should. And that is people that say, oh, when I start making money, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to start opening up charities. And it's like, okay, but do you understand that you can help right now? Like, for example, in Iowa, in Clinton, Iowa, the town where we have all of our buildings, they have a food drive all the time. They have a big truck that's parked out in front of the food drive, and you go inside and you buy a giant full bag of groceries. It's already done. It's all stapled shut. You pay $5 for it, and then the store matches it or donates it, but it goes to the food bank. So for every $5 bag you do, I think they match it with like 2 or 3 more bags. So like $100 worth of groceries get purchased for you taking a $5 bill. So every time I go in there, I go in and I go over to they have a bunch of bags all stacked up, all stapled together. Like, hey, I'll take 6 of those bags. And then they take your bag, they put your name on it, they put it on this truck. And when the truck gets full, after a day or 2, they take it to the food bank. So for $5, you feed like 10 people. So you cannot tell me that you can't help. If you don't have any cash, but you want to help someone financially, go through your closet. Take some clothes to Goodwill and help. When I was a super broke single mom, I shopped at Goodwill to look for outfits that I could apply for jobs in. I didn't have any money. Go and get rid of some furniture and get rid of some things, and not like garbage. Like, take something that you haven't used, take some furniture, take things down. There are all kinds of people that don't have a lot of money that are looking for things like that. So a financial equity does not necessarily mean, oh, here's $5,000 for charity. I mean, for $5 you can get a bag of food that goes into so you buy it and goes into the food bank. You can go through your Now I went through my dad and my little mama's pantry, They have clearly not gone through the pantry in a while because there was like 5 shelves packed full of canned goods, so full. And my nephew Isaiah came over and we went through and we must have tossed out 10 bags full to the top of canned goods that have expired. And we started kind of making a joke like, wonder what's the oldest thing we could find. So the oldest thing we found in there was a can of tomato soup that was from 2000. It's 22 years old. It's been in that cabinet because they buy stuff, they put more in, they take it out. They haven't gone through their cabinet in forever. Now that was nothing I could take to the food bank because everything was expired. But all those 5 shelves are now 1 shelf. That's how much was in there that was expired stuff. So go through your pantry, not your expired stuff, but take something. Hey, you know what? I could take half of my canned goods and take them to the food bank. There's a lot of things that you can do for this financial equity that would really help another person, and it might not even cost you that much money. So let's start thinking, like, how do we bless others? Because when you bless others, God blesses you, you bless others. And again, we're going to be the Dwanderful real estate investors are the most highly trained real estate investors in the world because they teach you stuff that other people don't teach you. It's all the little nitty gritty, all the little ins and outs, all the little details. Because I've done over 2,000 deals. I've been investing 30 years and I'm doing a town. We're having a town. So I want everyone to be out there and put your thinking caps on and think about some of the great things that you can do. All right. So hit me up at dwanderful.com, dwanderful.com. I've got all kinds of free stuff. So opt in. You'll get all kinds of cool free stuff. You get invited into the Team Dwanderful, the Mighty Network, and I talk in there and answer questions, and I stay in touch with y'all all the time. So make sure you do that, and just remember, we'll be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, and the truth is in the red letters. Ciao.
Thank you for dropping by to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever, making real estate investment wonderful each and every time. And for more information on how to make your real estate dreams a reality, keep an eye on dwanderful.com and be sure to become a member.